Hello, welcome to the very first video demo of our Art 430 Intro to Digital. I'm going to first start with Photoshop and just kind of getting familiar with the navigation and the workspace and the different panels in Photoshop. You can find, if you've downloaded Photoshop from CC, you will probably find that in, I'm obviously working from a Mac, so I'm only going to be able to show you stuff from a Mac. So not really sure where applications are found in on a PC. However, for us on Mac users, just go in your applications folder and find the Photoshop and just double click that. Your Photoshop screen will look a little different than mine. If this is the first time you've used Photoshop, then this will pretty much be blank. And it doesn't matter. We're not really going to work off of anything that I have here. We're going to just to get familiar with the workspace, we're just going to hit Create New. This prompts a window that will allow us to kind of have fine-tuning. We can create a custom document of whatever height and width we want. The resolution, which is the pixels per inch. I'll go over that a little bit more, but right now 72 pixels per inch is going to be fine. The color mode, which is default, I set to RGB color. In the midst of all of this, you can kind of see that it has some templates here, or not templates, but presets. There's also, inside of these presets, there are templates that are set up. We're not going to use any of those templates. However, we probably will use some of the presets. They have a preset for photo, one for print, one for art and illustration, one for just the web, one mobile, one film and video. But we'll go back to recent, where it kind of shows the different custom dimensions that we have set up. And I'm just going to pick a random one that I have here, 600 by 300 pixels. It also will show you the orientation of how things are going to be lined up. If I change that orientation, you can see the width and the height will change there. So we'll keep it at a landscape kind of orientation, and then just go ahead and hit Create. It shows right now my rulers are set on default, and all of those increments are set up to inches right now, even though we showed that the document will be saved in pixels. The rulers themselves are set to inches. If you want to change any of those things, you're going to find that in the Photoshop preferences. If you look at the top of the screen on your Photoshop CC menu and look under preferences, you'll scroll down to units and rulers. Here it'll show I have my rulers set to inches. If I don't want to see inches, I just change that to pixels and immediately saw that this went from inches into pixels. So for now, I'll just say OK with all of that. Let's get just a little familiar with the navigation and what you'll be using predominantly in these first assignments. First, the very first thing that we want to get acquainted with is the toolbar. If you don't see this toolbar on your screen, you can find all of these panels under our window option in the Photoshop menu. And you'll see that my tools at the very bottom have a big check by them, so that shows that the tools are visible and that it should be somewhere on the screen that I could see them. The other ones that we want to make sure we have open is the Options panel and the Layers. Those are the most important ones for right now. So with that, off to the side here, let's take a look at the toolbar. For one of our very first assignments that we'll be doing is a toolbar key, which is just a simple Word document. And it's really just to kind of promote a way for you to memorize a little bit more. I mean, you don't really even need to memorize because we can just hover over and see what is where. But in the workflow of a project, hovering and clicking on things to see what tools are embedded in what buttons. Some of these tools have these little arrows at the bottom, and if you click on it, it'll show a whole set of other another group of tools that are kind of hidden within that button. So if I want to use the elliptical marquee tool, I'd have to select that, and it'll show up in my icon. So for the toolbar key assignment, you're going to go back and you're going to name each one of these icons are listed as, and the simple little brief description of what their function is. So I want you to do that for all of the ones that are hidden in there as well. So like the polygon lasso tool has a lasso tool and a magnetic lasso tool within that button. And I want you to give that brief description as well. Again, it seems tedious, but the idea is so that you will have a very quick familiarity of where everything is located and how to get quick access to it. The next area that we want to look at is the options panel. So first, let's go ahead and select the, let's just leave the polygon lasso tool selected. And if we look up here in our options panel, it's the very top section of your workspace. And you'll see that the magnetic lasso tool icon is right up here as well. And I click on that. It says no preset tool presets defined for current tool. This will show you the different options of when you select things. You have a add selection, or a subtract from the selection, or intersect with another selection. These are all the defaults of what will happen when I make a selection with a lasso tool. If I was to click on the crop tool, you'll see different things set up for the crop tool and the different options for them. The other area that I want you to get familiar with is the layers panel. Right here we have in our layers just the background layer is showing because we have no image in there. Let's just go ahead and place an image in there so that you can see how that layers panel works. If I go under File in Photoshop, you'll see that there is a area where it says Place Embedded or Place Linked. We're always going to want to use Place Embedded. What that does is it makes sure that whatever image you use puts that inside of the Photoshop document and saves it there. A linked file means that it's always going to rely on wherever you have that image placed somewhere else. So if, for say, you saved this file and put it on your flash drive, but you didn't put the image on that flash drive, then it will not show up when you open up your Photoshop document. So we always want to use Place Embedded. I'll go ahead and put Place Embedded in there, and I'm going to pull from my grids images that have been saved on your Canvas files, and I'll go over in another in the next demo of how to get those images on your desktop. But any image that you have on your computer will work. Just going to place that on there, and you'll see that it puts up this. We'll see the image, but you'll see this X and this marquee around it with these little boxes, and that's basically stating like, here's your image, but we haven't necessarily made it embedded in there yet. It's not embedded in the document yet. And it's basically saying move it around, see what you want to do. I can rescale it to a different size if I want. And then what will make sure that I embed it is I want to hit return. If I hit return, you'll see that X, that marquee just disappear. And what you'll also see is in the layers panel that the grate is placed right on top of that background layer. If I hide that layer, you won't see. And to hide a layer, it is this little eyeball that's located to the left of the icon of the layer. You just poke it out with that little finger, and that will make sure that you can see it or hide it. One thing that, and I'll go over this again, but one thing you want to make sure you remember is that layers are like a stack of papers. Whatever is going to be on top is going to be what's visible. So if I have a larger image behind my one layer, I will see what's underneath it. Let's do an example of that. I'm going to go ahead and place another layer, another image on there, and we'll pick the brick fence one, and I'll place it. I'll just go ahead and click place, and I placed it right on top of that layer. And I'm gonna, you can barely see the X in there. It's not really very visible, but you can see the marquee, the little blocks that that anchor the edges. If I hit return, my brick fence layer is now blocking my grate layer, and if I hide it, you can see, oh, there it is. But my grate layer is actually much smaller than my brick fence, and if I wanted to see that on top of that, all I have to do is click on that layer and drag it on top, and you'll see those little blue lines show that it is above that layer, and now I can see both images placed because the grate is a little smaller than that brick fence one, so it's now allowing me to be able to see that. If I wanted to hide it, simple as that. This is basically just the first part of getting familiar with Adobe Photoshop. I just wanted you to get an idea of how how images are inserted in here. This is one way to get an image into Photoshop. This allows us to have a clear background. In the next demo, we're gonna open it with the image, and you'll see how it will become the background image. All right, stay tuned. Tune in for the next video for the next assignment.